New project time. Hi, and welcome back to Plastic Models by a Regular Dude, and part one of my next project, the Academy 1/35 scale US light tank M3A1 Stuart. From here on out to be called simply the Stuart. First order of business, per usual when this is the case, is big thanks to my buddy Keith Short for giving me this kit to build. It will be a nice departure from the big pile of aircraft kits I've been building of late, and should be a lot of fun because I dig the Stuart. Alright, let's get the Scale Mates thing out of the way first. This is, as I say, the Academy 1/35 scale M3A1 Stuart, kit number 13269. Alright, the lineage of this kit begins in 2002 as the Academy M3 Stuart Honey, a British version of the Stuart. Then somewhere between 2002 2010 we got some new parts, and that was a US version. Then in 2010 we got a new box, which I guess would include those new parts, but it was also packaged as a Honey. Then in 2012 it looks like it may have been boxed by Italeri, just a new box, no new parts or anything. And then we have this one here, which is in between 2012 2019. New box, no new parts or anything. And then in 2019 it looks like Airfix boxed one as well. And just judging off the color scheme on the box, it looks like it was probably a Honey as well. As a matter of fact, I built that kit in the Honey version several years back when I was first getting back into the hobby, and this is it right here. It was a fun kit to build. I liked it. I was trying out a lot of new techniques and stuff, and overdid a lot of things, but I was relearning the hobby and trying to do some of the more modern techniques and stuff like that. But it was a good kit, so I do have some experience with it, so it should be pretty good build. So anyway, that's the Scale-Mate stuff. So let's go ahead and take a look at the box, and then we'll crack it open and take a look at what's inside. And also, these kind of reviews and looks at the box and stuff, I mean, for a lot of people it does absolutely nothing for them, and that's cool. The only reason I do it is for people that may just be getting into the hobby, or are interested in this kind of stuff. So if you don't like this part, skip ahead or whatever. But anyway, the box, shiny, super shiny. That's why I have my light off. Artwork pretty good. The portions seem kind of weird, but it's box art. Some actual photos of the kit itself on the side. The ends are the same. More photos of the kit itself. Not a whole lot to talk about, really. Alright, so inside of the box we've got a little check part list before unsealing thing. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 if you count this, bags of sprues, plastic. And then you have a guideline for beginners, applying water slide decals for plastic models, cement, paints, etc. The decals, which we'll look at, and the instrucciones. So these instructions are weird. Okay, there we go. So we got two things going on here. We've got a painting and decal placement, so we got some marking options here. Parts trees there, warning, and instructions. So let's take a look at this stuff. As per the usual with kits nowadays, you get these warning warning sheets, a guideline for beginners, giving suggestions as to what tools you might need, how to apply the water slide decals, and then replace and return not guaranteed when plastic is unsealed. I just want to make sure you're not trying to get extra stuff out of them, I suppose. Painting and decal placement. So we've got 3, 4, 5 marking options here. We've got 2 Soviet down here, which is, I'm not doing those. Then we've got a U.S. Marine Corps 3rd Marine Tank Battalion, Bougainville, November 1943. And there's 2 of those. There's this one here, painting the hiney, and then the payoff. So we've got those 2 marking options, just some different pin-up looking things on the side and the name of the vehicle, and then obviously a different vehicle number. And then we've got U.S. Army 3rd Platoon, Company C, 1st Armored Battalion, 1st Armored Division, Tunisia, December 42. And I think that's the one I'm going to do. I can't remember if I've ever done one with the yellow stripe around the top. But that's one I want to do because I want to do an African vehicle. So there you go. You've got that. So that's what I'm going to do. Number 1. And then on the back of that sheet, you have a parts locating diagram, basically the sprues. And then color callouts here, very basic. You got flat white, flat black, gunmetal, silver, gold, red, flat yellow, light brown, olive drab, and khaki. So that is the that part of the paperwork. Then we have the instructions, fold out type as opposed to a booklet type. I'm not going to go all through it. It's got the usual. It's got the legend here describing what all of the different symbols mean, reproduction of the artwork except in black and white, grayscale kind of thing. So it looks like we have, you know, this is typical for armor kits. You start with the suspension and then work your way through the lower hull. And there is interior. I don't know how detailed it is. I built the interior for the honey that I did. And I don't remember if it was like super accurate or anything, but I'm not concerned with that because, you know, it's going to be all buttoned up anyway, and it doesn't need to be all super detailed. But I will be building all of it and painting it, weathering it, and that kind of stuff. Then you have the upper hull, and then it gives some direction here as to what you're supposed to use depending on if you're doing the U.S. version or the Soviet version. So that's pretty interesting. It's kind of cool the way they have it set up is you can have the hatches open on the front if you want, or closed. I did them open on the honey just because I had done the detail and wanted to be able to see inside. This one I'm not going to because I'm not really concerned with seeing inside of it. I'll get into that more a little bit later. More details or more upper hull stuff, and then you get into the tracks. Looks like there's individual tracks that you can use, or the flexible track. And I think I used the flexible track on that other kit. I'll look and see what I'm going to do on this one. I'm not sure yet, but I'll most likely do the flexible tracks because they're going to be painted and weathered, and so the detail doesn't have to be too crazy. And we have the start with the main gun, 37mm gun, and then the turret parts. And then step 8 is the final stuff. Shows the installation of these huge fuel drums here, machine gun, that type of thing. So that's the instructions, just the usual stuff. All right, we've got the upper hull and we've got the lower hull here, and just oh shoot, one of the axles is broken off of the return rollers there. What do you know about that? See, it's supposed to be like that, but no big deal. They just get glued on anyway. And like I said, I built one of these before, the honey version, and it all goes together just fine. I mean, there's a little bit of cleanup here. You gotta seam line there, but no big deal. The upper hull, it all fits just jolly, because there's a little bit of an overhang there. That's supposed to be like that, but yeah, nothing too crazy. It's got rivet detail on it. The rivet detail's pretty nice. It's got these footman loops here that are used for tying down whatever you need to tie down on one of these things, and it's pretty good. Now I could just trim all those off and replace them with photo etch ones that I have, but I ain't gonna do that. But anyway, upper and lower hull. All right, here's the turret top. Let me zoom in here. Here's the upper turret part here. Again, decent detail. It's got some nice weld detail here along that edge and right there. So that looks pretty good. There's a seam there that's going to need to be dealt with, mold seam line, but not bad. It's a nice looking little turret, and it's a lot different than the one that came on the Honey, because the Honey had the earlier turret, which was more angular, had a weird big hatch going on it. Here are the tracks. These are the flexible tracks. Boy, those are pretty warped. We'll see what I do with these. I may have to try and put these in some warm water and see if I can straighten them out. But we'll see. But you know, the detail on them is fine. You know, there's a little bit of a seam line along the edge here, but again, once they're painted and weathered, they're not going to be as visible, but we'll see what I do with that. Okay, the first sprue is sprue B. There is no A, because I think A is specific to the Honey. And first thing I notice here is this one is really warped right there. You can see that's pretty bowed, but it doesn't matter because those don't get used on this kit. But all the detail of the radio here, that looks pretty nice. But it all looks pretty good. Again, haven't built this before. I know the detail's decent on this thing, so I'm familiar with it. But it is pretty good detail. We got a lot of ammo cans here, storage bins. I'm not sure if all the storage bins will be used, because I think some of them are specific to the British version. But we'll see once we get into the actual construction. But I hear something that's kind of nice. These air cleaners, they're one piece, they're not two pieces, and that's pretty nice, because you know, it can be a real pain to have to glue two halves together when you have all this like ridge detail here. Now there are some ejector pin marks here and here that I'm gonna have to deal with. Shouldn't be too difficult, but hopefully they're in a spot where they're not really visible anyway, which is I think what the case is. Since I'm gonna not have these open, that won't be an issue. But see, I am gonna have to deal with stuff like this. This ejector pin mark here really stands out from the rest of the surface, and that goes flat up against something else if I remember correctly. So I'm gonna have to make sure I get those cleaned up really good. But otherwise, the detail's good. The tow cable ends, they're fine. Which reminds me, the tow cable is this piece of string. It's nylon, so it's usually not frizzy, and it actually works pretty well for a tow cable, but I have some copper stuff that I may use instead, but we'll get to that once the build starts. Then we've got these machine guns here. You know, there's no slide molding going on here, so I'll have to drill the machine gun out on the I'll just have to drill the end of the barrel out. Then here, this is all one piece. There's no aluminum barrel or anything, but it does have this hollowed out portion here that gets glued on there. So as long as it gets glued on nice and straight, and then just, you know, take care of the seam, the mold seam lines, and then the seam where this part attaches to this, it looks fine. I don't want to throw any aftermarket at this. I thought about getting tracks, but I thought, you know what, tracks that small, there ain't no way. Especially those stinking resin things, man, those things get on my nerves. But anyway, that is sprue B. Sprue C, we got some machine guns. Like, some of this stuff is not used with this kit. Two different kinds of shovels. They have different types of mounting brackets, grab handles, fluid caps, a couple of packs. And these are actually, you know, I mean, they're styrene and they've been around since early 2000s, but they're actually pretty good. They paint well and they weather up well, and the seams clean up really nicely. So they're perfectly serviceable. Then you got these wooden crates here. It's got a wooden top on it, but the sides are not textured in any way. But I have some aftermarket stuff that I'm going to be using for that, for deck stowage and stuff like that. But we'll get into that as the build progresses. But all these parts look fine, ready to go. Sprue D, I skipped C, so here's sprue C. This is interior stuff. We got ammo racks, we've got the firewall, just other various, you know, the seats, floor, just various, you know, some instrument panels here. The steering brake levers, just a bunch of interior detail type stuff. Sprue E, we have some turret parts. We've got the turret basket, the lower turret ring. We've got some other machine guns here. And I may replace those. I have some their Academy US machine gun set, but it's more modern and the detail's much better, so I may be using those for the machine guns, just because I have them, and that way hopefully I won't have to worry about drilling out the ends of the barrels and that kind of stuff. You've got the hatches for the front, and see, they're detailed inside in case you want to have them open, so that's kind of nice. A couple of ejector pin marks, but nothing too serious. Exterior fuel tanks. Nicely textured mantlet here. Front plate. Fender / mud guards, whatever you want to call them. The hatches. Now these hatches, now that's kind of nice. Now these hatches, they can be posed open, but they don't have any ejector pin marks on the inside, so that's kind of nice. I'm digging that. So now here's another one of these front plates, and this might be the one that's actually, yeah, this is specific to the M3A1. This one doesn't have, it's got ejector pin marks, but they're not sticking all out, so that should be a little bit easier to mess with. But anyway, that looks pretty good. That's sprue E. We jump to J, which is the running gear. Now we've got basically two sets of running gear here. You've got the solid idler, spoked idler. You've got the solid wheels, road wheels, and the spoked road wheels. So I'll have to look and see which one my version uses, and that would be, that's the spoked stuff. As a matter of fact, all of it is spoked. Looks like they all use the spoke stuff, so that's a bunch of extra wheels. The rear idler arm, spring, the vertical springs for the suspension, drive sprockets, and we've got a solid and skeletal looking drive sprockets going on here. So this is all just basically the running gear. Okay, then we've got two each of these sprues here. You've got H and G. These are the guide horns, and they're actually look really good. I may actually give these a try. There are no ejector pin marks on these track blocks, so it's just a matter of cutting them off and cleaning them up. So I may give these a try. I may see how they work, because I think they might be better. I've never done these. I've had them before, but I didn't use them on that honey. But the detail really is nice on these. So I may give these a shot. We'll see. And lastly, but not leastly, we have the decals. Now, these are 2002 decals. So I have used Academy decals in the past, and they just have not worked out well. They seem to be quite resistant to decal solvents. And I just on the honey, as a matter of fact, I tried to use them on there and it just wasn't happening. So I think what I'm going to do before I commit to using these, I'm going to try some of these decals that I'm not using on some a mule of some type and see how they work. Because if they don't work, I'm going to go for some aftermarket stuff. So anyway, they look good. They look really nice. They're really shiny. It seems like the carrier film is really thin, but they just don't seem to, or they didn't in the past. They didn't seem to work very well. So we'll see what happens with those, and I may have to do something else. All right, there you go. That's a look at the box and its contents. Now, as far as the actual project itself goes, I am going to be doing it as kind of a summary type build. It's not going to be a step-by-step, getting away from that. And I want to keep it, the videos to a manageable level, yet still make them informative. So I'll do a number of steps and then talk about, what exactly I did, if I had to do anything unusual. Just give a brief summary of whatever step or steps I do at a given time in a video. So that's it, folks. That is the intro video for the Academy 1/35 scale Stuart. So hopefully you'll stick around and watch the rest of the series. I will be posting on a periodic basis. So if you like this video, if you found it interesting, hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed and you want to follow along, hit the subscribe button. And if you have any experience with one of these kits, I'd like to hear about it in the comments section down below. Let me know what you think. So there you go. That's it. The end of the intro for the Academy 1/35 scale M3A1 Stuart Light Tank. So until next time, I will see you all later.